Hi guys, welcome and who dat? I'm Joe. Thanks for tuning in to Rosenfield 10, where I cover our beloved Bless You Boys in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. And today I'm giving final prediction on what our boys are going to do in the 2025 NFL Draft. This is it, crunch time, less than a day away now. What are the Saints going to do? Well, this is the hardest year to predict in years for me. I think 3 years ago we all assumed it was Chris Olave and Trevor Penning, and 2 years ago we all assumed it was Brian Bresee, and last year we all assumed it was Taliesin Fuanga. So this is a year where nobody's quite sure. The big talk was quarterback Shadir Sanders, and I think three guys at ESPN still believe that, and the other seven major publications are all going in a different direction. Think here locally, we feel like Shador is not going to be the pick, but we can't count out quarterback altogether. So I'm going to put up my prediction of what I think is going to happen in the picks ahead of us, and then we'll look at the short list, and then I'll tell you who I think the Saints are going to take, sort of. So here's what I think is going to happen in the draft. Now, I know there's going to be trades, and so all of this is going to be probably mixed around and different, maybe different teams taking different players. But I am of the belief that Shadir Sanders is going to go second overall to Cleveland. It feels like a Cleveland thing to do, and no one would be expecting it. And that is probably the only player I have listed here that's kind of in question for some people in that top eight. I think it's going to go down like this. Except where the Jets pick. I have no idea what they're going to do. Now, here's a list of players that the Jets could be picking from. Tight end Tyler Warren, offensive tackle Will Campbell, offensive tackle Armand Membu, wide receiver Tetero McMillan, and I got to throw in offensive tackle Kelvin Banks. So I think ideally the Jets would want right tackle Membu. Then they can put their first round pick last year back at left tackle where he belongs, and then they'll have their tackles of the future. I think that's what the Jets are going to do. But they could go big wide receiver with Tet Mack, and they could go tight end, which might be their best player overall with Tyler Warren. If they're going offensive line, they could go best left tackle, Kelvin Banks, or they could go best consensus tackle, Will Campbell, who I think can play left side, right side, and guard. So I don't know what the Jets are going to do there. I think the locked on mock draft had the Jets taking Mimbu, and everything was exactly like this plus that move. So it left everyone on this short list besides Mimbu there, and then Ross ended up grabbing tight end Tyler Warren for the Saints at pick 9. I'm going to pull up another list of players, another list, just 9 players, but these are the best consensus players left on the board if the board falls like this in real life. So you got to throw in Josh Simmons at offensive tackle, and then you have your two best cornerbacks, Barron and Johnson. And then you've got a plethora of edge rushers you may like. Mikael Williams, James Pierce Jr., Mike Green. You got the best linebacker in Jod Campbell, and you got the best defensive tackles remaining with Kenneth Grant and Walter Nolan. So a lot of flavor to choose from there, and this is how it's set up for the Saints. So, who do you take out of these guys? And if the board actually falls like this, the only discrepancy I can see in my prediction is if Sanders doesn't go. So, in place of Sanders, who would be available to us likely, then you would see either Will Campbell or Armand Membu or T Mac. Because I think New England, if they don't get Travis Hunter, they're going to end up going Will Campbell. I think the Jets are going Mimbu or T-Mac or Warren. I just can't pick. But the Saints would have whoever else is there. So I look at all of this and I think there's something missing. Quarterback. So I'm going to pull this down and I'm going to pull up one more list. These are players that could be wild cards for the Saints. Quarterback Jackson Dart and quarterback Tyler Shuck are certainly at play at pick 9, whether we want to believe it or not. And then you have the best safeties on the board still. You have that great tight end. You've got Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, who everybody thinks is a safe pick. I would go Jaden Higgins myself, but and I had to throw in defensive ends out of Texas A&M, Stewart and Gordon, in case the Saints want to go that route. Shemar Stewart feels like a Dennis Allen slash Mickey Loomis slash Jeff Ireland draft pick. And I expect Shemar Stewart to go to the Bears at pick 10 if Dennis Allen gets his way. If that's what Dennis Allen was really all about, it felt like he was really all about that. And I fear that maybe our front office was really all about that too, and that trend may continue. So, Shemar Stewart's a scary prospect to contemplate, but you can get him or Nick Scorton, who actually has some production, same kind of size profile, but less of a Raz, but way more production. So Scorton needs help too. So anyway, yeah, these guys are wild cards when it comes to who the Saints might actually pick. So now it's all been put out there. You take with that what you will and make your own decision. I can't decide who I think if the Saints stick and pick at 9, who they're going to grab out of all of this. But I break it down to 5 players. Tight end Tyler Warren, offensive tackle Will Campbell, cornerback Jahdae Barron, linebacker Jihad Campbell, quarterback Jackson Dart. I think these are the 5 players that are at the top of the Saints board. And if the board falls any kind of way to how I presented it, it can't be too far off. There's only 8 players going before 9, so it can't be too far off. Maybe the Saints want that outside cornerback in Will Johnson. I think Barron's got the edge. Maybe the Saints are sold on Tyler Shuck. And I'm kind of leaning towards Jackson Dart. I thought Mel Kiper was insane when he made that pick, but there's a lot of fire there, as well as for Shuck. And then several sites picked Jihad Campbell, the linebacker. I'm in love with Campbell. You get that guy, you're going to be stopping the run. You're going to have a presence on defense. You're going to have a plan in place post Demario Davis. So a lot of upside with taking Campbell. Or you can take the other Campbell, Will Campbell, and have yourself a starting offensive lineman. Out of all these players, if they were available, I'm leaning towards Tyler Warren, but I would be happy with all of them. Even Dart, if Dart happens to be Kellen Moore's guy and he thinks he's worth the take at 9, that means he's the quarterback of the future. That means the success of Kellen Moore rides with Jackson Dart, and he will either be re signed to a big contract as a head coach or he'll be fired as a head coach if he makes that move. And best case scenario for the Saints is he makes the move, it works. So if you want to put Shadir Sanders' name there instead of Jackson Dart or want to add it to it, you can. I think Sanders is gone in the first 3 picks. I just think there's desperation up there. And out of these 5, we'll see if the Saints take one of them. But that's as good as I can go. I was saying Jahdae Barron for the longest time, who the Saints are going to pick, but it's out of these 5. If I had my way, let Kellen Moore take the best quarterback that he thinks is the franchise. Let it work. Doesn't matter if it feels like a reach now. Just let it work. Best case scenario for me has always been trade down, acquire extra picks, and still get your guy. And if it's quarterback, You can very well do that. You can trade down with Denver. You can trade down with Pittsburgh. You can still get Jackson Dart or Tyler Shuck. So that's the play I would make. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm Joe. Subscribe to the channel. For more Saints content, I'll break down every pick they make. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?